I've been reading this sub for a pretty long time, and up until now I've luckily avoided frightening situations that may be worthy of a post. This happened about 3 weeks ago. Though I'm generally a slightly paranoid person as it stands, I'm glad to have read so many of these stories. It probably helped me make a safe decision on that night. I'm a small woman in her early 20s who lives alone in a smallish condo/apartment with her cat. We are on the second floor of the building, where I moved in a few months ago. There are 2 doors one must enter to get inside my apartment. The first is outside leading into the building, and the second is obviously my apartment door itself. Tenants have keys for the outside door, which only has 1 lock, whereas the actual apartment doors have both locks and deadbolts. Otherwise, a visitor must be buzzed in to be allowed inside. For some clarity, there are 8 apartments per building in my complex, with an outside door on either side of the building. Mine is closer to the back, and is situated directly above a currently empty apartment. My downstairs neighbor to the left is my age, the only neighbor I'm close with, and is often away staying with her boyfriend. This means that while I technically live near others, my home is pretty isolated. There's an outdoor light situated next to the door, but I'd noticed when returning home that the bulb had either broken or burned out. I hadn't thought to contact maintenance to fix it, as it was late and I was pretty tired. There hadn't appeared to be many others in my building, as the parking lot on my side wasn't particularly full. I was taking care of a few chores around the house at around 10 p.m. Friday night, running the dishwasher and folding laundry. I'd had a long week at school, and had arrived home probably an hour to an hour and a half before. My cat was keeping me company as I puttered around. It's hard to hear much outside when the dishwasher is going, and I was generally distracted, but barely noticed a soft rustling sort of sound outside. It didn't seem too strange, aside from being repetitive. I wasn't really unnerved by this point, but being constantly anxious anyway, I was too frightened of the dark to look outside the window to that side of the building. This might very well have been totally unrelated, but I think it bears mentioning. Fast forward a little while, and I was standing at my kitchen counter working on a report on my laptop. Over the sound of the dishwasher, I heard a soft knock on my door, upon which my cat bolted for the bedroom. Unsure at first if I'd really heard anything, I went still and waited for a moment. There it was again, quiet, but a little longer and faster. This made me pretty uneasy, as it was very late, but my first thought was that it might be one of my neighbors. I approached the door quietly and looked out the peephole. As I mentioned before, the only neighbor I know well is the young woman who lives downstairs, but I'm familiar with what all the others look like. The man standing outside was completely unfamiliar to me. Tall, wearing either a dark blue or black jacket, Caucasian with dark hair. He didn't look too unusual, just unfamiliar. What was unusual, though, was how close he was standing to the door. Even distorted to the peephole, he was so close I would guess him to be standing square on the mat in the hallway, leaning his face in slightly and staring at the peephole. There was an odd sort of energy in his stance, if that makes any sense. I immediately felt extremely unnerved, and glad I had made very little noise when I walked. I backed up about 3 feet from the door and waited. I'm not totally sure how much time passed, but he probably stood there a couple of minutes longer before I heard him go downstairs and through the outside door. Now, I've had a neighbor from downstairs knock on my door in the evening before to ask me if I was experiencing a power outage, which he was. He'd brought his wife with him, probably to reassure me, and stood a reasonable distance back from the door after knocking firmly. This was exactly what this strange guy didn't do, which is why it set me on edge. I was always trying to convince myself that I was making a big deal of nothing. I told myself that this had probably been a similar sort of situation, but was far too immediately uncomfortable to consider answering the door. I just decided to listen to my gut. I texted both my mom and my male friend about the situation, and my friend offered to come keep me company. But by that time, I had talked myself out of some of my nervousness and assured him that I was fine. I went to sleep about an hour later and woke up having mostly forgotten about it. Shit got weird the next day. Only in the context of what I saw the next morning did the knock even seem all that frightening. I had agreed to accompany my mom and her boyfriend yard sale hopping that morning in some nearby neighborhoods. They were picking me up early around 7:30. My mom gave me a call from her car when they arrived on my side of the building to let me know to come down. I grabbed my bag, went out my door and downstairs, but as soon as I opened the outside door, something was clearly wrong. The handle turned very loosely, and the door opened easily, and upon shutting again behind me, the handle itself completely fell out of the hole. Looking back, I wish I'd taken a picture of it, because it's a little hard to describe, but the handle had been messed with. The outside portion of the door handle was held in place with screws, and that part was completely missing. The lock component was also missing. And essentially what was left was a stripped handle with a hole in the middle where the keyhole should be. Both those parts, when I searched the surrounding grass and sidewalk, were nowhere to be found. Essentially, it had been thoroughly tampered with so that somebody could get in. My mom, having heard about the knocking incident from me the night before, was not cool with this and insisted I report the incident. I contacted maintenance and the police, but as there are no cameras situated near my apartment, and definitely not near my door, I'm not particularly hopeful. I've gotten no additional information as of now. In talking with my neighbors, who were obviously made aware of the vandalism, nobody who was at home or awake around that time heard anyone knock on their door, or saw, heard, or came in contact with the man I described. Maybe this is overthinking it, but it makes the approach seem more targeted and less random, as if he knew it was me that lived there. For what it's worth, the outside door handle was replaced pretty quickly that afternoon, and nothing like that has happened since. My story takes place 19 years ago. I'm a female, and I was 16 at the time. I'm 5'7". I was about 130 pounds, and I like to think that I'm strong, but I couldn't take on 2 young men by myself. So, it begins with my mother and stepfather going away on a vacation and leaving my 17-year-old sister and I home alone. They did this quite often. My parents weren't exactly winning any parenting awards. My sister and I didn't get along either. She was a pretty nasty piece of work. Luckily, she decided to go stay at a friend's house while my parents were away. I was nervous about being alone, so I had my boyfriend staying with me. He was a pugnacious dickhead, but I'm glad he was there. One night, Brett and I were at my house, and we had just started messing around when I heard a really loud knock at the door. My room was in the basement, but at the landing area between the stairs there was a window that I could see the stairs that led up to the alcove of our front porch. I could see 2 people standing there, and just as I was peeking out to see them better, one of them saw me. I remember the feeling of breath sucked out of my chest. There were 2 young men standing on my porch. It was almost midnight, and I had no idea who the hell they were. The guy that saw me let his friend know, and they both looked in the window and asked me to come to the door. My boyfriend had gone upstairs to open the door, and I remember freaking out because I had told him not to. He was one of those guys that thought he was Mr. Tough Guy and believed he could fight anyone. He was telling the guys to leave just as I joined him at the door. They saw me and called me by my name and asked for me to let them in. Brett told them to fuck off. One guy, I think he said his name was Wes or something like that, said, "Come outside, we just want to talk to you." I told them no and that we were going to bed, and shut the door. I was confused and getting very frightened. They stood on my doorstep for a few minutes, then started knocking again. Wes explained to me through the door that he was my sister's friend, and that she had told him I was home alone and that they should come by. I knew my sister, and I believed them. That didn't make me stupid, however, and I told them to leave again. They started kicking the door. It was shaking, and I seriously feared that it would not hold up. I was so scared that I ran into my kitchen and called the police. I was assured that they would be there very soon, and to lock the doors and stay on the phone. Meanwhile, Brett was still yelling at them, which only served to piss these guys off more. I begged him to shut up, but he wouldn't listen. I was locking all the doors and windows upstairs, while Brett went to check the doors. Down in the basement, there was a huge mudroom area, and it had a thick wooden floor made of 2x4 planks, kind of like a barn door. The door had a big lock on it, some spring-loaded turnbolt, and also had a plank to set across it, like a barricade. One of the guys was pounding on this door, and Brett heard him tell the other guy to go try the back. This stupid door was one of those 1960s things that had a happy little square window, right at face level with a little curtain across it. I was at this door, trying to jam a chair under the flimsy knob, when I looked up and saw the unnamed guy just looking in at me. I screamed, and the dispatcher asked me if I was okay. I barely squeaked out that one of the guys was looking at me right through the window. He was older than me, probably about 20, and he was tall and looked scary as hell. His dark eyes were drilling into me, and he wore this creepy, placid smile on his face. I had never met this man before, but somehow he knew my name. He tapped on the window with one finger, never breaking eye contact, and said, "Becky, let me in." I couldn't breathe. The knob was rattling as he was messing with it, and he again said, "Let me in, Becky. I just want to see if you're okay. I just want to talk." He stared at me. I didn't say anything. I was just 3 feet from him, with my back pressed to the fridge, when he suddenly started beating on the door and screamed, "Let me the fuck in this house! If I have to break in, I'll kill you both, so just open the fucking door!" He looked maniacal. Then there was a loud knock at the front, and the man went silent. He gave me the most hateful sneer I'd ever seen. I heard shouting as he ran back down the stairs and into the woods along the back of my yard. Brett had gone to the door. It was the cops. There were 2 female officers at the front door, and one was just starting to raise her voice asking where I was, when I came to the door too. I was so relieved that I started sobbing. I told them that they had run into the woods. Luckily, the woods weren't that deep. They actually ran along the bank of a large river, and there was a bridge just up from where the woods met the road. One officer ran around the back, while one stayed to get a description and take my statement. Officer 1 came back and spoke to the other, and said that she had saw them running across the bridge. They both left in a hurry, hopped in the cruiser, and sped off. I was still crying and shaking, but I was absolutely furious at Brett for riling them up. I went to make myself some tea, thinking of all the ways I could kill my sister when she got home. I had so much anger, fear, and adrenaline pumping through me, I could have ripped her to shreds at that very moment. 20 minutes later, the cruiser came back. There were 2 guys sitting in the back seat, and the officers wanted me to confirm it was the right men. I looked through the window and saw them, and they still looked terrifying to me. They were in cuffs and couldn't get to me, but I refused to get close to them. Neither of them would look at me. I confirmed it was them, and we spoke a bit. I told the cops about my sister suggesting that these 2 men should come see me. Officer 2 kind of mumbled, "What a bitch." I had to agree. I pressed charges for attempted forcible entry, property damage since they had broken a window in the living room, trespassing, disorderly conduct, and attempted assault. Initially, they both pled not guilty, but later admitted to some of the charges. They both got 18 months in jail, and were forbidden to contact me or my boyfriend ever again, and to be at least 500 meters from me at all times. I never heard from them again. I confronted my sister about it, and of course she denied it, then laughed about it. Laughed at me. She was an awful person. I have no idea what their true intentions were, as they maintained that they were just there to talk to me. Thankfully, I didn't have to find out. My stalker story starts out like many others. I'm a normal girl just trying to live a normal life. There's nothing really special about me, but I seem to attract the attention of all the wrong people. Maybe this was my fault. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I worked the midnight shift at a popular gas station in a low-income, high-crime neighborhood. We're open 24 hours, and I get a lot of the crazy customers. Most of them are drunk or on some kind of drug, but my creepiest customer of all was Ted. Ted was your average, everyday semi-truck driver. On Sundays, he would come in at 1 in the morning, and the rest of the week he would come in at 3. Everyone at my job knew him by name, and would always welcome him with a smile, so he seemed like a safe kind of guy. He was very friendly, and always looking for someone to talk to and laugh with. We would talk about life. I told him about my husband and the crazy way we met. He told me about his divorce, and how he got an amazing motorcycle out of it. After a while of talking, our conversation became comfortable. He was my best regular after all. I told him about my upcoming vacation, and how I had just turned 21 and planned on going bar hopping with my best friend. He told me that I was dangerous, and that he needed to watch out for me. Being my sarcastic self and knowing that I'm the least dangerous person I know, I responded with, "Yeah, I'm so dangerous." After a while, Ted suggested that we hang out. Now remember that he's a 56-year-old single and ready man, and I'm a 21-year-old timid and very married girl. We should not be hanging out. I would always tell him that my husband wouldn't like that, but he kept insisting. And the thing about me is that I'm terrible at turning people down, so I just told him that I didn't know my work schedule yet, or that I would be busy on the day he wanted to hang out. He gave me his number, and I threw it directly into the trash when he left. About a week went by, and he let me know what week in May he would be on vacation. He begged me to let him take me to the beach. I continued to tell him I didn't know what my schedule would be for that week. Well, eventually the week of May rolled around, and Ted began his vacation. He saw me at work taking out the trash, and he cornered me to tell me. Now this part requires some explanation, so stay with me. The way we take out the trash at work is we load up all the bags into a Walmart-sized shopping cart and wheel it out to the dumpster. The dumpster is located on the side of the building and surrounded by 3 walls of bricks and 2 large metal doors to keep the homeless people out. Opening one metal door allows enough space for the shopping cart and my body to fit in, so that's usually what I do. Easy in and easy out. I was inside the dumpster area, loading all the trash bags in, and I see a vehicle pull up to me. It's 3 in the morning at this point, so it's dark and the headlights were blinding. There's an exit right behind the dumpster, so a car passing me isn't unusual. But the vehicle stopped, taking away any room I had to get out and blocking me in. Then someone stepped out and approached me. He was just a shadow figure with the lights behind him, but once he spoke, I knew that it was Ted. He told me that he was finally on vacation, and we could have our beach date at last. I didn't speak because I was frightened, knowing that I was cornered and I had nowhere to run if I needed to. He then said something that sent chills through my spine. "When we're done at the beach, I'll take you back to my hotel room." I froze, never having given him any reason to think that was okay. He noticed the obvious terror on my face and tried to backtrack. We'll watch movies and eat popcorn. I'm an adult. I've been to a few hotel rooms myself, and I know what 2 grown adults do in them. I didn't know what to say, so I just stayed silent. Eventually he got the hint and left. The next day, Ted came in to see me at work, and this time he wasn't playing around. He walked straight to a display of peanuts we had at the front of the store and grabbed a bag. "Gotta have your daily bag of nuts," he said, looking directly at me as he put them on the counter. "I have a bag of nuts for you." He winked at me. My typical welcoming smile had faded, and I was done acting nice around him. I told him I hate nuts, and he looked at me like I wasn't getting the joke. I got it, and I meant what I said. He walked away and grabbed the rest of his items, and came up to pay. As he was about to leave, he turned around. "I forgot something. Let me go get it, so I'll be ready for you." He walked down the aisle I was afraid he was going to, and came back with a box of condoms. I could feel his stare as I rang them up, but I couldn't look at him. I would have puked if I had. The days following, I hid from him. Having already memorized his daily schedule, I would always go to stock the cooler whenever he was about to come in. He figured this out, and would open the doors to talk to me. One day I went to the bathroom, and he had the nerve to bang on the door and ask why I was hiding. He even asked my coworkers where I was on the nights I wasn't at work. It got to the point where I would break into a full sprint whenever I saw his truck pull up, and I know he saw me. I wanted him to see that I wanted nothing to do with him. For a while, it seemed to finally make sense to him. He almost stopped coming in, and when he did, we didn't speak. But the creepiest of all wasn't while I was at work. I was laying in my bed, about to go to sleep, and I saw my phone light up next to me. The light of the screen blinded me at first. I black out my room to help me sleep during the day, but once my eyes adjusted, I saw his face. Ted was staring at me through the Facebook notification, which let me know that I had one new friend request. I have no idea how he found me. I never wore a name tag at work, and even if I did, it didn't have my last name on it. He had to do some serious searching to find me. I immediately blocked him, but unfortunately, my address and phone number was public on my profile, and more than likely seen by him. I know I shouldn't have any of my info public, and it's since been changed. I put in my 2 weeks right away. I had to come back to work since then, though. A girl's gotta make money, and it's hard out there. During my time away, my husband and I came into the store to get some drinks, and I saw Ted's truck pull up. Before anyone asks, yes, my husband knew everything Ted had done. I threw my arms around my husband and he kissed me. It was passionate and over the top, and we made sure Ted saw all of it. He looked at me with all the rage in the world. We quickly left after that, but a few minutes later I got a text from my coworker who was there at the time. She said that he was loudly mumbling to himself about how he couldn't believe I would kiss all over some guy in public, but that I wouldn't sleep with him. Nothing's happened since, but he could come in at any minute, and I always get a little worried at 1 and 3 in the morning. I know it's not the craziest of stories, and I'm very thankful for that, but I needed to share it somewhere. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave feedback in the comments below, as well as perhaps like, share, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a personal story that you'd like to submit, or you'd like to just send me a message, links to all of my social media will be in the description for the video below. This includes my Gmail, Twitter, and Facebook accounts. Go ahead and send me a message on any of those, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the theme of the story is, if it has any, the name of the story, and how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in. If you're curious at all about the music used in this video, the music is always listed in the description below, in the order which it appears. I also have links to the artists and list the tracks by name, just in case you want to find more of their work. Last but not least, if you have any criticism, please be sure to leave it in the comments below, as I'm always looking for new ways to improve the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.